I'd like to welcome my second guest to Late Night in Tigard, Officer Heather Wakem from the Tigard Police Department.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Nice seeing you too.
So, Officer Wakem, we know that Late Night in Tigard is your favorite late night show. What's your second favorite?
I don't get to see late night TV very often, but my favorite show right now is The Bachelor.
Who would you compare the mayor to in terms of talk show hosts?
Probably Jenny Jones.
When you first started working in Tigard, what was the population?
About 50,000.
And how about when you first started living in Tigard?
About 50,000 as well. I actually moved here when I got the job, but my husband has lived here the whole time, and I think it was about 30,000 when he was here.
And what made you want to live in the Tigard community? Because that's not always the way police officers approach things, I think.
My husband lives here, his mother and father, his brother, and his brother's whole family, and I'm kind of a possessive person, so I wanted to be in my city.
What was the moment when you really realized that you belonged in Tigard and felt like part of the community?
I take my dog to the dog park, and when my dog park friends were able to recognize me while I was in uniform.
So you're a young woman,
Yes, sir.
and you're a young officer, you're a young public servant. Someday you could be mayor. If you were mayor, what would be the one thing you would do, you would change?
I think I'd want to retrofit the emergency buildings in the city of Tigard for like natural disasters like earthquakes. So those are going to be natural gathering points in case of a disaster.
Is that a message for the current mayor?
I'll take the hint. So talk about how the Tigard Police Department's changed since you started in 2012.
I think the main change has been with our chief. She was willing to make some concessions for our union members. One of the biggest ones was beards, obviously, as you can see. But our male officers really wanted beards, and she wasn't for it initially, but she was willing to concede on that, and we really appreciated it.
So did she get something in return?
Yeah, we like her a lot more. So
Beards was the key to
that was the key.
Okay.
Boy, if that's all it took, my wife would be in heaven. I'd do it. So what shift are you currently working?
I just got on day shift. It took me about 7 years.
Wow.
So I work 7 to 5.
Give us an idea of how big the shift is in terms of officer deployment.
So we have 4 officers working the road right now for about 60,000 people in the city.
On each shift.
On day shift right now, I'm not sure how many people are going to be able to show up for swing shift.
Do you feel like you're a little stretched?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another message for the mayor.
I know we have challenges with the physical space in the police department as well. I've heard the women's locker room is undersized. Tell me about that issue, and what about other issues in the physical space?
Well, if we want more female officers, we're probably going to need to get a bigger locker room because we're at capacity right now. We have a leak when it rains sometimes, and it leaks between me and Officer Bowman's locker. So you have to make sure you stand off to one side.
So you don't get hit with water?
Yeah, but it's still better than the boys' locker room.
What's going on in the boys according to what you hear?
What I can hear and what I can smell, there's some pretty serious plumbing issues. So if somebody wants to take a shower and you have to decide whether you want to flush the toilet, because it'll make it flood, and then it floods our area.
Wow, and I take it that we've tried to address that with plumbing services, et cetera, and the roof too. I know we've tried to work on the roof, but it sounds like the results have not repaired the situation.
It could be better.
Okay. What kinds of police calls do you respond to now that maybe you didn't previously? Have you seen a shift or a change in that?
I think the biggest one is going to be an increase in behavioral health issues.
Okay.
We get a lot more of those calls, and they take a lot of time. I think just yesterday I had 2 of them where it was a pretty serious issue. And then the other one is going to be with our homeless population, calls for service of people wanting to have camps removed or people wanting us to check on homeless citizens.
Well, speaking of homelessness, that's an issue that's certainly increased over the last few years. What's been our police department's approach to homelessness?
Honestly, it's trying our best to keep our heads above water. It's been such an increase, and what we try to do is a balancing act between respecting people's private property and removing camps from those private properties, but also having the compassion to deal with the people who are living in those camps, because most of them obviously don't want to be living outside, and obviously safety. So balancing those three things has been our main response to it. We try to catch the people that we can that want help. If we can get them services or get them hooked up to social services, and then just moving forward.
So what's one story on that topic? What's one story working with the homeless that really made an impression on you?
I'd say the biggest one, there was a lady, and I just had been to her camp a couple days before, and she called up. I forget if I was on swings or graves, but it was dark outside, and she
Swings and graves. You got to translate.
Oh, sorry.
What's that mean for the public?
Swing shift is 2 to midnight, and graveyard, which I spent a lot of time on, is 10 at night to 8 in the morning.
Okay.
And it is really awful.
Different types of calls, I take it.
Different types of calls. So this call came out when it was dark, and she was reporting that she was getting beat by her boyfriend. And, it was a quick call. I need you guys to come. I'm getting beat up. Click. And I'm like, you guys don't worry. I know where her camp is. So, we trounce through the woods. We get to her camp. She's not there anymore.
Oh.
We didn't know where she was. We couldn't ping her phone. We didn't find her for the rest of the night.
You were concerned?
Yeah, because that guy had some anger issues.
And how did that end up turning out?
We ended up arresting him for a warrant. We found him, I think, next to Fred Meyer's. And it was her. And I'm like, I found you. I've been looking for you. And she's like, yeah, I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, look, he's going to jail because he has to go all the way to another county for his warrant. This is the time that we can get you somewhere. And she's like, I want to go. And I said, great.
That was the moment.
Because she had time to get away from him.
Yeah.
So she was able to get in some domestic violence resource center and actually get some housing and left. I don't know what happened to her. I haven't seen her since, but I know she's not with him because I've arrested him since.
Well, and it's hard to be sure, but she's probably better off. She at least had an opportunity to be better off.
At least she knows that services are there for her and that people care about what she's doing and how she is.
So we learned from the Homelessness Task Force that simple solutions to solving homelessness, they exist, but cities can't just do everything and can't be everything, but can be part of the solution. You and Officer Orth really did a lot to try to address the homelessness issues. What can Tiger do to be more part of the solution in the future from your perspective?
One of Officer Orth's really great ideas is contacting people that are homeless in their cars. And one of our biggest issues is having resources available for people, but we aren't able to find them again. So it'd be nice if we had a safe place, like a parking lot or an area where people could safely park their cars. If people could safely camp, Eugene has a series of micro homes. They're like 25 square feet, but it's somewhere that people can stay for a year and that they can start to transition from, living outside to start getting resources to get on the Section 8 waiting list, to get Oregon Health Plan, and have people with resources actually come to meet them.
So the advantages of that. You'd know where they are, be able to connect with them. They'd maybe be able to get mail easier. I know that's another thing that we work to try to help. What other advantages would that offer?
As a police officer, the number one thing is safety. Like, they are in a set community. We know where they are. If they call 911 and say, hey, my abusive boyfriend is back, I need help, we're all like, oh, great.
You know where to go.
I know where to go. I'm going to be there for you. Give me 30 seconds.
Officer Wakem, toward the end of every interview, the mayor likes, and we do too on the production crew, to find out how you think he did as an interviewer here. What kind of a grade would you give him for this today?
Well, I like my job, so I'm going to give him an A+.
Good answer. Are there any questions? Is there one question that he should have asked and didn't?
When he can schedule his next ride-along. Come hang out with us.
That is a great question. I actually was reflecting on that with my wife recently, because I have honestly not been in a Tiger police car since when I was a reserve officer. And that was a long time ago. And I know it needs to be on my list. I'd love to come out with you probably in the next couple months, and we'll get that scheduled.
How about the graveyard shift, Mayor?
Well, it doesn't sound like she's working that, but that used to be when I did most of my reserve time, so we'll see. Well, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate you coming in and letting us chat with you.
No, thanks again.
Thank you, Officer Wakem.
Thanks.